As we head into summer, we brace ourselves for what could be a more devastating fire season than last year, which was the worst on record with almost 1,400 fires across the state, causing close to $110 million in damage. Currently, most of the state is experiencing severe to extreme drought, and from now on it can only get worse. We've already had our rainy season. Add that to extensive tree kill due to the pine beetle epidemic, and our forests will soon be powder cakes, if they aren't already. This is of great concern to those of us with homes in rural areas. Producer Steve Costin went on location to get advice from county, state, and federal fire prevention and fighting experts for the best property defense strategies.
After last year's severe wildfire season, we got together and we were looking for resources for the citizens of Wyoming on different ways to protect their properties from wildfire and also to cope with the aftermath of wildfire that occur in our state. And that's why we came together and put together this resource for folks in the state. It's basically to provide user-friendly, practical information that you can implement on your property. Some of the more profound things that I learned when I was looking into this subject was the importance of thinking about the fact that it's oftentimes the embers from wildfires that burn structures down. Oftentimes when we think about wildfires coming through areas, we think of sheets of flame consuming structures. Well, oftentimes that's not the case. It's the ember storms that blow up from the wildfires that precede the wildfires. They can burn the structure down before the flames even hit that area, or they can deposit embers that burn down the structures hours or days after the wildfire front has gone through. So when you're doing defensible space around your property, think about how those embers can collect and smolder and light your structure on fire.
We have homes that exist in our state of Wyoming that are highly susceptible to a wildland fire. And these 3 R's can help you in mitigating those hazards and increasing the survivability of your home and any structures that exist in the WUI. The 3 R's again being reduce, remove, and replace. So reducing the natural vegetation, removing any dead, down, woody debris, removing pine needles, removing anything that can lead to increased fire hazard, replacing natural vegetation with more fire-resistant material, fire-resistant vegetation, and replacing building materials on the home with more non-combustible type building material. So replacing wooden shake shingle roofs with Class A asphalt roofs is an excellent first step, and any of that will increase the survivability of your structure in the long run.
For whatever reason, haven't started creating defensible space around their properties, there's no better time than now. You never want to be caught off guard, and you can't get that defensible space created during a wildfire event, and you really can't expect firefighters to create it for you. It's a landowner's responsibility to do that. And so I guess if you're not going to do the defensible space, then you might not get very good service from the firefighters, because they're going to pick those properties that they can save. And if they come upon a piece of property that there's obviously been nothing done to create defensible space, then they might write that off and go with some of the other properties that they have a better chance of saving.
One of the misconceptions about creating defensible space is that there's a perception that you have to clear cut completely everything around your home. That's not necessarily the case. If you've got a select tree that you really like, or some vegetation that's up adjacent to the home that you're really fond of, what you can do is consider that a part of your home and to mitigate the fuels beyond that point, so you're not in the middle of a concrete slab out in the woods.
With a lot of our ranch complexes that we deal with, river bottom fires or just prairie fires out there, hay meadow type fires, is one, older barns, old wood creates a problem for us. Generally, there's a lot of brush, grass around the structures themselves. Another thing is overhead tanks, flammable materials, either diesel or gasoline, possibly other items that become a problem for us. As you can see, this one, there's a lot of flammable material underneath the tank. Once that dries out, it brings fire to the tank. And then again, this one, if we have a problem with fire, power lines start coming down. A lot of times we have power lines just right over this tank, so that can become a problem for us also. We just have to look at all the different things and assess the structures and see what we can do for them.
Roads are being added every day. As roads are being added, a subdivision going here, a subdivision going there, the county planners do try to keep up with this. They'll email the fire department of new addresses, new roads, and it's changing and getting bigger every minute. We do ask that the people and the county will provide a red reflective numbers that you put in your driveway that face oncoming traffic, so that at night, if we're driving down the road, your numbers will reflect as to your address, your house.
So another concern with live vegetation is ladder fuels. Ladder fuels are anything that would cause a fire that's creeping along the ground to get up into the canopy of a tree. Ladder fuels should be reduced and removed on a property if at all possible to increase the chances of your home surviving, along with the overstory, taller, older trees surviving. So removing lower hanging branches in a lot of cases, or removing younger or more stunted growing trees in the understory of other trees, reducing brush component, all of that will help in the chances of reducing ladder fuels that carry fire into a canopy.
I'd be cutting out all the big logs, the dead and down that are already down, get rid of them, and then I would start going after the smaller trees, the small diameter stuff. I'd thin that out. And then the final thing I'd do to get rid of the ladder fuel or reduce ladder fuels is get a pruning saw or a pole saw and start cutting the branches off the trees that I've left. And so, you know, here's a good example right here of the result that I want is, you know, I've gotten rid of all the big stuff underneath, and then I came in with a pole saw and I pruned everything up just about as high as I can reach, which is, you know, a good 8 to 10 foot or even higher if you can.
One of the easier things you can do is to remove your stockpile of firewood away from your home. It's very convenient in the colder seasons, but during fire season it's just added fuel, and there may not be time to deal with it when a wildfire approaches.
So if you have livestock, you need to give that a lot of consideration before a wildfire is ever near your property. The things that you want to do if you have livestock is, as soon as a fire breaks out anywhere in your area, you need to position your vehicles to be able to load up your livestock and get them out of there. So make sure that you have them all in an area where they can easily be collected and loaded onto your trailers and hauled out. You also want to prepare in advance, if you can, a place to take them to. Sorry?
One thing that we have in structures, no matter where they are, either up in the forest or out on the prairie, ranch houses, is everybody has their garden chemicals, such as weed killer, bug sprays, those types of things, spare gas for the lawnmower, whatever. You can put them in a shed that's out away from the structures. We know that, or you can sign it in some ways. That keeps us safe. We can stay away from that shed. It stays away from the structure. We can keep ourselves safe, and you know, it's a lot better overall in the event of a fire.
It's nice to be able to mow a piece of property. If you're in a situation where you can take a lawnmower through, then you're in a good spot and you've done your work, I think. Because running a lawnmower, I mean, anybody can do that. It's very quick, and so that's kind of where I'm at now. Is I'm able to just come through here with the lawnmower, which I think is pretty easy, and that's what I want to maintain in here.
Probably one of the biggest things is to get involved on reverse 911 on the radio system, so that if an evacuation does come through, you can be notified.
Another thing you should think about is evacuation. You should have a grab-and-go box ready. That grab-and-go box should contain a number of items, the things that you'd need in an emergency, and you should also have ready all the valuable items that you just can't bear to lose. A lot of our possessions are entirely replaceable, but some things are not. Your pictures, your computer files, your heirlooms, those need to go. So have it planned, have them ready to pick up and take and walk out the door as soon as you receive notice that you need to evacuate.
Being proactive in creating defensible space around your home could mean the difference between your house being survivable and defendable. Survivable meaning that it will be able to withstand a wildland fire event, and defendable meaning that it's still going to need some help from first responders, firefighters, to make sure that the house is not taken out by wildfire.
The first thing you can do to protect your property is to download a guide called Living with Wildfire in Wyoming. It goes into details that Steve's segment just addressed and other issues he didn't have time for. Go to the University of Wyoming Extension website and under Publications, search for it by title, Living with Wildfire in Wyoming, or the publication number BB-2. And remember to include the dash, BB-2.